Hello, welcome to BEH 221, Resolution-Based Counseling Skills. Today we're going to talk about the foundations of interviewing and counseling. The term counseling and the term interviewing are used interchangeably in this class. The overlap is considerable, and at times interviewing will touch briefly on counseling and psychotherapy. Both counselors and psychotherapists typically draw on the interview in the early phases of their work. You cannot become a successful counselor or therapist unless you have solid interviewing skills. And this might be one of the most difficult aspects of working in behavioral health, is learning how to be a good interviewer. Interviewing is the more basic process used for gathering data, providing information, and helping clients resolve issues. Counseling is more intensive and a personal process than interviewing. Although interviewing and information gathering are essential, counseling is more about listening to and understanding a client's life challenges, and in conjunction with the client, develop strategies for change and growth. Counseling is most often associated with the professional fields of human relations, counseling and clinical psychology, pastoral counseling and clinical psychology, and social work. It is also part of the role of a medical personnel and psychiatrists. So if you kind of look at these three aspects, there is a overlap on each of counseling, interviewing, and psychotherapy. The Venn of Treatment, so to speak. Psychotherapy focuses on more deep-seated personality or behavioral difficulties and may take longer. The skills and concepts of intentional interviewing are necessary for the successful conduct of long-term psychotherapy. In the course of a single contact, a social worker may interview a client to obtain financial data and then move on to counsel the same client about personal relationships. More than 1 million counselors, psychologists, social workers, and human service workers in the United States perform primarily interviewing and counseling tasks, although many will engage part or full-time in psychotherapy. The basic skills you will find here are used again and again, regardless of the area in which you are interested in working or how you are employed. The work settings and titles will vary, but it is you who will have the primary responsibility for crisis counseling, working with children and youth in schools and community agencies, as well as family counseling and therapy. In addition, you may encounter much of the challenging work with more severely distressed individuals, those who have been diagnosed with depression or anxiety and have suffered traumatic experience. Microskills are communication skill units that help you to interact more effectively with a client, whether you are an interviewer, counselor, coach, or psychotherapist. Microskills are basic to fields that communicate with clients. Developing competence in interviewing skills will enable you to plan and structure a session to make a difference in the life of your client. The Microskills model is designed to show you how to use specific skills to master the art of communicating with a client. Your natural talent and style will be greatly enhanced by practicing and becoming confident in these skill sets. Micro means breaking down complex, larger components into more precise, small, and manageable components. Breaking down the skills of effective counseling into a clear step-by-step process makes them easier to learn and to teach. Practice and feedback are key to mastering all skills, including microskills. As you become competent with each microskill, you are prepared for learning at the next level. The steps will provide the specifics that will enable you to work with a multitude of clients and anticipate which skills will likely be most effective with what anticipated result. In addition, Competence in the Microskills Hierarchy will give you a clear sense of how to organize and structure a session. The 5-stage structure will be useful with multiple theories of interviewing, counseling, and psychotherapy, as well as coaching. And on the right, you'll see a pyramid that represents this Microskills hierarchy. So, the foundation of a good working relationship relies primarily upon a multicultural competence, ethics, and a positive psychology or resilience approach as the baseline of what you need to work with. Without a basic understanding and sensitivity to a client's uniqueness, the interviewer will fail to establish a relationship and never truly grasp a client's issues. Another major skill is attending, observation, and empathy skills, which are key to the listening process and cultural intentionality, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Attending behavior is critical for developing a working relationship and drawing out client stories. Attending and observation skills provide a foundation for empathetic understanding. Together, these 3 areas represent the essence of the relationship and the working alliance, all essential for a multiculturally sensitive session. So let's look at the 5 stages of the interview process. Number 1, you need to create an empathetic relationship. 2, gain their story and identify strengths. 3, identify their goals. 4, help them reshape their narrative or re-story. And 5, action. These 5 stages provide an encompassing framework that can serve as a model and checklist in many settings with varying clients and with different theoretical approaches. An empathetic relationship has been found to be responsible for 30% or more of the change observed in the effective counseling sessions. So again, and we've talked about this through a lot of the classes, is that relationship between the therapist and their client really forms a huge part of the client's potential for successfully achieving their goals. You need to trust your therapist in order to move forward in any kind of therapeutic environment. Active strategies for change focus on microskills that are used primarily in stages 4 and 5 of the interview. Focusing, empathetic confrontation, reflection of meaning, interpretation and reframing, empathetic self-disclosure and feedback help clients re-story and think about their issues in new ways, which in turn lead to new thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Directives, psychoeducation, and natural and logical consequences will enable you to put an active, positive spin on client change. Skill integration is your place to blend the microskills while also addressing case management and treatment planning for future sessions. Determining personal style and theory is at the top or the apex of the Microskills hierarchy. So you have to really be well versed in all areas before you can really integrate them into your own personal style. So, getting to cultural intentionality. And just to review what culture is, it is a learned set of shared interpretations about beliefs, values, norms, social practices, which affect the behaviors of a relatively large group of people. So, a culture is something on which many of us are part of, and we're a part of multiple cultures. So, you're generational in terms of age, your race, your orientation, if you're lesbian, gay, bisexual, if you have a culture of being heavily into sports or heavily into art, those are all cultures. Microskills are based on seeking cultural expertise and multicultural competence. The goal is to provide the interviewer and counselor with a highly flexible set of observable skills that can make a difference for all involved. Many, even most of our clients come to us feeling that they are not functioning effectively and are focused on what's wrong with them They are stressed. Clients may feel stuck, overwhelmed, and unable to act. This focus on the negative is what we want to combat as we emphasize developing client intentionality, resilience, and self-actualization. Cultural intentionality is acting with a sense of capability and choosing from among a range of alternative actions, interviewing skills, and helping theories, always considering the cultural and ethnic characteristics of the client. And, we have to remember that culture is only partially ever seen, like an iceberg. And this graphic on the right really does define how we observe culture. It's easy to see some cultures, hear about them. We can immerse ourselves in a culture. It's difficult, however, to really understand their values, their priorities, and the things that they assume as part of their cultural experience. The culturally intentional interviewer remembers a basic rule of helping. If a helping lead or microskill doesn't work, try another approach. Resilience is a dynamic process whereby individuals exhibit positive behavioral adaptation when they encounter significant adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or even significant sources of stress. Helping a client resolve an issue is our contribution to increasing client resilience. Pointing out to clients that through change they are demonstrating resilience, and this ability facilitates longer-term success. The development of intentionality encourages a stronger sense of self, i.e. self-control, a major aspects of resilience. Emotional regulation, which is basic to resilience, is defined by neuroscience as the ability to respond appropriately in social situations, but also as the ability to manage challenging situations without losing self-control. A good cognitive decision will be ineffective if emotional regulation and self-control are lost. This resilience and flexibility become all the more important. And again, what we're looking at here with this emotional regulation is, you can be a very calm person, but in a crisis or if there is adversity, you have to look at how you assess and respond to events. And if you tend to lose your mind, to put it in the vernacular, then you have to ask yourself, why am I not managing my emotions more effectively? Our interaction with clients change their brain and ours. In a not too distant future, counseling will be regarded as ideal for nurturing nature. Another quote, "Psychotherapy is a biological treatment, a brain therapy. It produces lasting, detectable physical changes in our brain, much as learning does." And down below, what you see here is kind of a body atlas of heat based on an emotion a person is feeling. So if you look at depression, the body heat really is missing. Contempt, the body heat is at the top. Going back to the beginning, anxiety, from the head to the groin, it's all that heat. Love is also bright, and that feeling of butterflies in our stomach that we may think is anxiety, oftentimes when we fall in love, we get that same kind of feeling. Pride, shame, and then envy you'll see at the end, where the person's heat map is all in their head, feeling that they're jealous of something. We now know that not only that your interviewing and counseling skills facilitate client cognitive and emotional growth, but also through research using functional magnetic imaging, or fMRI, that your relationship and conversations can affect and observably increase the brain's neural connections. In effect, brains can be rewired. Our brain's ability to change and grow is termed neuroplasticity. One place to begin discussion with your clients is brain plasticity. It can be useful to point out to clients that brain plasticity means they can not only change the way they think, feel, and behave, but they can add new and permanent neural connections, and even change memories as the two of you work together. Neuroscience has brought us to a deeper awareness that stress underlies virtually all issues that clients bring to us. 80% of medical issues involve the brain and stress. And over here on the right, you'll see a graphic of the brain and, the limbic system, which you'll see in the back of the brain. That is really a huge area of emotion, as well as the frontal cortex, which is in the very front of the brain. So, we as humans, we tend to think of our brain as this, gelatinous highway of information, but it also has a serious influence on our emotional state. For example, the amygdala, which is right in the middle, it's kind of underneath that A, teaches us how to be afraid. And being afraid is actually a really positive evolutionary thing. Because if you're in the middle of a city at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're walking to your car after work, being a little concerned about your personal safety will keep you safer. Stress management is becoming a central strategy for prevention and treatment of both mental and physical illness. So let's talk about counseling locations. Interviewing and counseling occur in many places other than a formal office. There are street counselors who work with youth organizations, homeless shelters, and the schools, as well as those who work for the courts, who go out into the community and get to know groups of clients. Counseling, interviewing, and therapy can be very informal, taking place in clients' homes, a neighborhood coffee shop, or nearby park, or while they play basketball or just hang out on the street corner. The office may not exist, or it may be merely a cubicle in a public agency where the counselor can make phone calls, receive mail, and work at a computer, but not necessarily a place where he or she will meet and talk with clients. The office is really a metaphor for your physical bearing and dress. No matter where you counsel, smiling, culturally appropriate eye contact, a relaxed and friendly body style are the keys to success. As the importance of that fifth stage of the interview, action and follow-up, is recognized as increasingly critical to client change, many counselors are now using smartphones so that clients can follow up with them or ask questions. With smoking, alcohol, or drug cessation, being available can make a significant difference. However, this is also fraught with practical and ethical issues. You and the client both lose privacy, nonverbal communication will be missed, and confidentiality may be endangered. Skype and other visual phone services partially answer these questions, but they are still not the same as a face-to-face relationship. So, there are a lot of places in the United States where you do not have a lot of mental health facilities. You go into the Midwest and they are few and far between. So, counseling from a distance has become a new way of managing the therapeutic relationship. Distance Credentialed Counselor, or DCC, is a national credential currently offered by the Center for Credentialing and Education. Holders of this credential adhere to the National Board for Certified Counselors Code of Ethics and the ethical requirements for the practice of Internet counseling. These professionals adapt their counseling services for delivery to clients via technology-assisted methods, including telecounseling, i.e. over the telephone, secure email communication chat, video conferencing, and other appropriate software. Professional associations are still working on these new approaches to counseling delivery. As with all types of counseling and therapy, ethics are the first and primary concern. So, that's it for today's presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email or text message your instructor. If you do not attend our college but have a question, please leave a comment and we will return and answer that as quickly as we can. Thank you and have a great day.